LEGO Marvel Superheroes is a game I have many fond memories of, which is why I felt that it was time to acquire that juicy platinum trophy. Considering I've actually never even 100% a LEGO game before, I figured it was about time because it feels like every achievement hunter has to have at least one LEGO platinum trophy under their belt. So without further ado, let the LEGO Marvel nostalgia take my LEGO 100% virginity. The game starts off strong with the cutscene featuring numerous heroes and villains like Iron Man, who absolutely carried this platinum, Silver Surfer, and even Dr. Doom. That's just the opening cutscene, however, because the real game starts us off in a level featuring Sandman and Abomination as the main villains we have to dispose of. This first level is mostly just a tutorial for the game where you learn how to use Iron Man and Hulk for their intended purposes, but thankfully since this game is peak, even the tutorial has an epic fight between Hulk and Abomination where we literally just button mash each other to the verge of death and end up in this building where we first encounter Sandman. Since Sandman is a pussy though, he calls in this train and demands his sand goons to defeat us. I don't really know what Sandman expected these guys to do, considering the only damage sand can really cause is an itchy ass crack, but whatever. After further progressing the level, we ended up getting swept out of the building in a sandstorm where we ended up outside with the absolute GOAT, Spider-Man, and a big bad Sandman boss. All we had to do for this encounter was get Sandman ultra wet in order to defeat him and get our first trophy pop. After that first level, we were introduced to the helicarrier in which I ultimately had to jump off, which gave me a trophy. I also snagged a trophy for turning into a literal teapot as Mr. Fantastic before jumping into the next level. Level 2 had us in what I believe to be the Fantastic Four's lab, if I'm not mistaken, with Dr. Octopussy, where we were first introduced to Captain America and Mr. Fantastic's abilities. This level eventually led to a rooftop chase with Doc Ock, if you can even call it that, because instead of continuing to run away, Doc Ock would just wait for us to find a way to get across before immediately moving on to the next rooftop. We eventually ended up on the streets though, where we had to rip out all of Doc Ock's arms and eventually finish him off with a disrespectful little shield throw, which probably gave him severe brain damage, but it's fine because I got a trophy upon clearing the level. The next level we played featured Hawkeye, Black Widow, and Spider-Man in the Oscorp building, where we pretty much had to do a bunch of super easy little computer puzzles, probably because LEGO games are made for children and unemployed adults like me. This level was absolutely dope though, because we ended up getting to fight Venom, which is one of the coolest villains in Marvel, and I will die on that hill. But yeah, we obviously defeated him and got a trophy for doing so. Alrighty, this next level has the most nightmare blunt rotation in Marvel: Anger Issues, Alcoholic, and Feral Manlet. This level was actually pretty fun considering how long it was clocking in at, like 30-ish minutes, and I even got a trophy for using Wolverine's regeneration ability at some point. This level did have some L parts though, like when we had to fight Magneto and Sabretooth on this elevator, which kinda just felt dragged out if I'm being honest. But on the bright side, towards the end of the level, we did get to beat the living crap out of Abomination yet again for another trophy. Next level had us in Stark Tower, which was being taken over by some irrelevant villains that absolutely nobody knows about. I mean, who do these goofy looking goons even belong to? I'll tell you who. This guy. Do you know who he is? Me neither. This villain is so irrelevant, in fact, that he didn't even have any unique cutscene or anything upon defeating him. He literally just died like any LEGO character. Anyways, after killing Mr. Irrelevant, we had to kill like 40 of his goons, which was kind of fun, I guess, but not nearly as awesome as this fight with Tangerine or whatever his name is in the Hulkbuster suit. Plus, the part of the fight where all of Iron Man's armors came to help us in defeating him was actually pretty cool in my opinion. But yeah, we eventually lasered the back of the Hulkbuster and yanked Tangerine out of it so hard that we got a trophy. Next level was in this like Hydra base where we actually got to play as Human Torch for the first time. Too bad he's an incredibly mid hero and also part of the least notable superhero team of all time. Fantastic Four some hate out of the way though, we did eventually get to fight Red Skull in this level, which was quite easy considering the fact that all you had to do was break some stuff, then block Red Skull's bullets with Cap's shields in order to get close enough to spank Red Skull silly. And after repeating this process like 4 times, we obviously defeat him and get yet another trophy story pop. Next level brings us to Asgard, which I think is arguably always boring in like every Marvel portrayal ever, and this level is no exception. I don't know, man, I just think Marvel Asgard is such an eyesore. But in any case, we did get to fight Loki and his big ass mind-controlled robot at the end of this level, which was in fact not as fun as it sounds because he kind of just freezes you over and over again, which is super annoying because you just can't do anything for a whole like 10 seconds during your time being frozen. After spending a long time slowly chipping away at Loki though, we eventually whittled down his health enough for bro to just teleport away like a complete pussy, but hey, at least we got a trophy. Next level took place in this like X-Men school, and despite the irrelevant heroes, this was actually one of my favorite levels in the game simply because the level just felt pleasing to play. I literally don't know how else to describe it, but I guess this level just kind of reminds me of LEGO Harry Potter, which is honestly a vibe. But yeah, we basically just had to save numerous students from the school since, you know, the building was on fire. Oh, and also speaking of fires, at some point in this level, my dumbass genuinely couldn't figure out how to put out a fire needed to progress the level, so I spent like 10 minutes dilly-dallying before I eventually caved and looked up a guide where I found out that this black chick can in fact fact put out fires with their goofy ass hovering animation. Mentally challenged Zerk gameplay out of the way, we eventually encountered Juggernaut, which is one of the coolest big figs in the game in my opinion. All we had to do for this boss was use Juggernaut's subpar intelligence against him and do numerous unethical things to his big greasy body before eventually defeating him and popping a trophy. We then got to play another banger level that takes place in Dr. Doom's dope-ass castle. Despite the cool atmosphere, the level was actually rather basic if you ask me, as it felt like the entire level was just laser and gold walls. But anyways, we then got to fight Green Cuck Dwarf or whatever his name is, who was probably the easiest boss in the entire game. He kind of did nothing but circle around this building on his jetboard thingy before eventually stopping and just allowing us to wail on him for no reason. Anyways, level complete, trophy popped. After that level, we got to bust into the submarine for reasons only God knows, because I have no idea how this linked to the story in any way. This level mostly just had us killing enough hazmat-suited enemies to make up half the population of Sentinel Island before eventually getting to fight this dude named Murdoch. I have absolutely no clue where this villain even originates from, but at least I finally found someone with a bigger head than me. Believe it or not though, that actually wasn't where the level ended, because the sexy red-haired X-Man lady from earlier came out of nowhere to provide us with the pocket of air for underwater travel throughout this level. After a little bit of exploring, we eventually caught Dr. Doom gooning on his sparkly bricks red-handed, which gave us a bit of a sinking feeling. See what I did there? Like if you look at the trophy name, never mind. Next level, Magneto takes over the Statue of Liberty because she's made out of metal, and Magneto's only use is bending things that are just that. So naturally the statue yeets us into Roxxon Labs, which I didn't even know existed outside of the Insomniac Spider-Man trilogy. In any case, this level was fun, not because it was inherently good, but because I gardened with Mary Jane Watson, if you can put those pieces together. But yeah, after a long climb up the Statue of Litterby, we had a fight with yet another irrelevant supervillain called Mastermind, who, spoiler alert, mind controls people. Shocker. So naturally we had to play Chad Patty Cake with each member of our superhero trio before eventually getting to defeat Mastermind and getting another trophy pop. Next level brings us to this beach, which low-key reminds me of the intro mission in Assassin's Creed Black Flag, if you know what I'm talking about. Not long after this level began, I actually popped a random trophy for killing 100 enemies as the thing. I mean, I can't complain, it's a free trophy. But anyways, this level was low-key fun, except the keyword here is, well, low-key. It was decent, and I think LEGO games typically do jungle levels pretty well. They just aren't my favorite. Now, at some point, we actually got to fight Rhino, and honestly, I don't even know what my opinion of Rhino is because I've seen so many variations of him. Like, I've seen a Rhino mech, a Rhino, half mech thing in the Insomniac Spider-Man games. I just have no clue what to even think of, bro. Anyways, in order to defeat Rhino, all we had to do is build a pumpkin for some reason and ram him into it. LEGO games are actually so random, bro, I swear. That wasn't actually the end of the level, though, because we still had to defeat Magneto, which was honestly light work because all you had to do is use a thing in order to pick up big LEGO objects and throw them at him. Of course, he ends up getting away, though, by literally lifting up the entire island. I have no idea the reasoning behind this, but I did in fact get a trophy pop, so I'm not complaining. Next level was honestly one of my favorites, as the whole cybernetic theme, or whatever you want to call it, was super cool. And yes, in case you haven't realized, I rate LEGO game levels based on aesthetics, since every level is the same shit in LEGO games anyway. But yeah, this level was quite quick, and we were only playing for 15 minutes before a dope Magneto boss fight began. Once again, it was a fairly easy boss that only required a few spankings and a good amount of throwing big LEGO objects before quite literally sending him to space and popping another trophy. Second to last level then once again had an extremely cool aesthetic and actually took place on a whole ass space station this time. As the level progressed, we actually got to fly through space quite literally and enter the level's boss fights. I actually found this boss rather annoying, as every time you hit Dr. Doom, one of his stupid fat bodyguards would proceed to attack, which was frustrating because each one has 3 hearts and just kind of felt like filler to make the level last longer, if I'm being honest. Thankfully, we eventually got to punch Dr. Doom into the exosphere and pop a story trophy. Loki then somehow managed to summon Galactus to destroy Earth as we know it, so naturally us superheroes had to stop him. This final level had the heroes and villains teaming up in order to eliminate the Galactus threat, which actually didn't take that long in fact. The level only took 15 minutes and we simply just had to build a bunch of portal making devices, then hide Hulk and Thor in this globe, before surprise attacking him back into whatever universe he came from. W LEGO story and W trophy pop. With the story complete, it was now time for step 2 of the Platinum, which is to do the first 4 hub bonus levels according to PlayStation trophies. These bonus levels are basically just really short levels you unlock by collecting enough gold bricks in order to do them. I started with stupid ass stud collecting level that every LEGO game seems to have for some reason. This level doesn't give you a trophy or anything, I just wanted to mention it in case a LEGO employee sees this video and fucking removes these useless ass levels from the game. Please and thanks. Anyways, with that shitty bonus level aside, let's focus on an actual quality one called House Party Protocol. There's not really much to explain here, as all we really had to do was get a party started by doing numerous boring odd tasks. So anyways, here's that trophy pop. Now, believe it or not, you don't actually get a trophy for every bonus level you complete, which is why I'm not going to discuss them all, but they are important because you need to do each of them twice in order to 100% this game. This is because just like the standard levels, you do in fact have numerous collectibles in each level that you have to get in free play. Anyways, when I started playing this like daily bugle bonus level, I automatically popped a trophy for playing as Agent Coulson, so yeah, W free trophy. A couple hours later, I then popped a trophy for purchasing a character called Howard the Duck, which kinda got me in the mood for a few more miscellaneous trophies. So I proceeded to plug in a second controller in order to get a trophy for having one person play as Captain America and another as Human Torch, and I then went to Deadpool's Goon Cave in order to read a comic for another trophy. Right after that, I went into the custom character machine or whatever it's called, in which I named my character Trevor for a trophy and earned another one directly after just for saving a custom character. Since I wanted to save a few easy trophies for later though, I decided to spend the next few days replaying every level in free play, which was actually so dull because I just had to watch shitty collectible guides for the entirety of my free playthrough. But I did eventually finish it, which unfortunately doesn't even give you a trophy pop, but at least I'm that much closer to the 100%. This actually drained my morale so much though that I took an entire month off of this game before eventually returning, ready to lock the fuck back in, just like you should lock in on hitting that like and subscribe button. Anyways, I immediately dove into the insane collectible free roam grind this LEGO game has. There are numerous free roam activities in this game, some being much more annoying than others, but in any case, I was determined to get this done. The first trophy I popped was kind of an accident if I'm being honest. It was simply popped by purchasing Black Widow on the character's select screen thingy. The next two trophies were also happy accidents in fact, because by purchasing all Iron Man armors, I was awarded a trophy for doing just that, and another one for collecting every Avengers character / variation in the game. At some point, I also somehow managed to smash 100 cars, which was of course my 30th trophy. Okay, so like 2 days after that trophy pop, I sat down for a solid 5.5 hours straight, just absolutely locking in on collectibles and just everything this game has to offer. During this grind, I actually managed to pop numerous character collecting trophies, like unlocking all Guardians of the Galaxy characters, all Evil Mutant characters, all Furry Femboy Squirrel fucking characters, all Heroic Mutants, and collecting all members of the Sinister Six. Alrighty, with all those stinky little trophies out of the way, it was now time to do the rest of the bonus levels. I actually quite enjoyed pretty much all of these, especially since I didn't do any in between the world map completion grind, so these were a really nice breath of fresh air to be honest. Now, because of that 80x multiplier you may have noticed up on my screen, the True Believer status on every level was the first somewhat relevant trophy that popped in a while. If you don't know what True Believer status is, please for the love of God, just go play a LEGO game. Anyways, that True Believer status trophy also marks the final stretch of the bonus level grind, as I would simply just replay them in free play directly after completing them so as to not be overwhelmed with having to do them all in free play at once like I did with the main story levels. Which means it was now time to replay the final and also the worst, might I add, bonus level in the game in order to save the last Stan Lee I needed to get. These are of course Stan Lee cameos if you didn't know, that are scattered throughout the world map and in each level in order to eventually unlock Stan Lee as a playable character. But yeah, here's the trophy for unlocking him. With that, it was now finally time for the cleanup phase of this oh so nostalgic but unnecessarily long game. I started by abusing my triangle button like your dad when he found out you were a twink for a trophy that made me turn from Bruce Banner into Hulk 50 times, and then followed that up by recreating the iconic Hulk and Loki scene for another trophy pop. After that, I ran around dilly-dallying until I gathered a billion studs for my 40th trophy, and then started going for a trophy called Alter Ego, where I had to perform every Big Fig transformation in the game. During this, I ended up popping a different trophy for simply turning into Stan Hulk once, and then finally found the last Big Fig I needed in order to pop the Alter Ego trophy as well. I then used a special throwing move with Colossus and Wolverine, and popped a random ass trophy for driving the Magnetomobile to a certain building. And with that, I went to complete my last and final gold brick race in nonchalant Silver Surfer fashion for the 100% completion and the Platinum trophy directly after. Comment hashtag LegoPlat and like and subscribe if you made it this far. Anyways, I just want to give a huge shout out to Game Master in my Twitch chat, who's there for every LEGO Marvel stream and also guided me through a lot of complicated or otherwise oddly placed gold bricks throughout the game, and pretty much just any random thing I needed help with. The game was overall pretty fun, but the grind was far too long for a LEGO game in my opinion. Anyways, like and subscribe, and I'll see you later. Bye.